Hello, whoever joins me. Um, I hope everybody feels great. Uh, you know how I get, which is kind of funny because even though I'm silly, this is not really a silly topic. Now, some people may think it's silly, but it goes with how society sees men. And a question I would love to ask anybody who would like to join me: Does or do the emotional needs of men matter? Um, what's going on, brother? Simply Deep. I hope you're doing great. Hopefully, as always, I want to have a open dialogue that will, if it can be entertaining, let it be entertaining. If it can be a learning experience, I would love that. If we can have a party and still talk about serious subject matters, I'm all for that. Um, hopefully, if you hear me, if you're watching and you can hear me, just give me one because I don't know if people can hear me or not, and I'll look in a minute. But anyway, as a man in this world today, I'm coming from a male's perspective. For me, I know people care, but a lot of times, um, when it comes to other men and women in general, outside of your own personal persona, the double P's, um, I want to say that a lot of men feel that what they want, what they desire, and the pain that they go through, their suffering, their emotional trauma, it doesn't matter. Now, we've been taught to care for women, children, the elderly, animals, plants, the environment, but it seems like men are just fodder. Um, we are not allowed to show our pain. And if we are in pain and we express it, we're weak. Well, we're feminine, we're less than. And as a man, I've always found that to be disturbing. Like Darth Vader says, I find your lack of faith disturbing. Now, let's go. That's a great segue into my thoughts. Now, when you think about Star Wars, the character of Anakin Skywalker joined the Jedi Order, and in the Jedi Order, the ultimate tenet is to love altruistically, but you're not allowed to show love. You're not allowed to make personal relationships. And the Jedi in general, before he came, Yoda, the most wise sage, thought he would be weak or not a great Jedi because he cared too much, because he loved his mother and he couldn't let her go. And during the prequel saga that everybody hated, I loved it, but most people hated it. It was about the character Anakin having attachment and not knowing how to really express his emotions in a way that was respected by his fellow Jedi and that was conducive to achieving the goal of, being this altruistic, loving dude, but having a strong connection for his loved ones and his need to protect them. So his lack of um, or I should say, the Jedi's lack of understanding his emotional needs led to his pain. So he fell and became evil, and next thing you know, he became one of the most iconic characters ever put in pop culture, Darth Vader. But other than that, if we look at um, MGTOW, IBMOR, the terms incel, V-cells, um, the pickup community, all of these are ways that men are trying to um, get their emotional needs met or find answers or separate from society that they feel doesn't care about their emotional needs. Now, I think, for one, everybody's emotional needs matter. But the question I would beg to ask anybody who's watching, um, do the emotional needs of men matter? And does society care? Because in general, the way I see it, um, as a society, we don't care about how men feel. We don't care about what men are suffering. Now, you do hear it a lot more on the internet. YouTube is a great forum for it. You see it on Facebook. And I always use the analogy. Let's not use analogy, but I gotta always use the opposite, because we really care about the emotional needs of women. We care about the emotional needs of children. We care about the emotional needs of the LGBT community. We care about everybody else except for men as a group overall. And it's so sad in a way, because as a society, of a civilization, we need men and women and everything in between. We need that, because if you don't have diversity in certain aspects, if you put one group before another group, you lose that ability to build together. And I'm always about building in love. This is not a criticism, but this is for me. It's for anybody who's watching or anybody who's listening to me, is to get other people's opinion of how they feel about the emotional needs of men, and does it even matter? Oh boy. I feel so much like most people want to pull out facts and show you charts and tell you all this and that. No, I'm just coming from my heart, how I see things. And I think that men need more outlets to deal with their emotional pains or their shortcomings, or how they deal with life. And we need more people to be able to help men, just like we help women and children and dogs. And we don't have too many outreach programs for men that are emotionally crushed. A lot of these crimes that are committed, I was saying perpetrated, but I was just tongue twisting myself, like I always do. A lot of stuff that happens, a lot of crimes committed by men are due to their emotional needs not being met. Most men, no matter what they say, want to be providers. They want to be protectors. They want to take care of their family, their friends, and most likely their community. And I'm going to go off on a tangent in a little bit, because my computer's always messing up on me. And just to get your computer rolling the way you want it to roll costs you money. So I got to give a little tangent. I get so irritated when it freezes. I'm like, yeah, I'm going good. And it's not even hot. But I really, really, really need to build I got a new computer sitting right next to me, to tell you the truth. I really need to take some time and put it together, because I hate when I'm about to go somewhere and it just freezes. And I'm so, that. They call it doing the mannequin challenge. You know what I mean? I'm trying to pontificate here. I'm trying to expose my soul, and you're gonna freeze on me. Don't you freeze on me, damn it! I gotta freeze in here so my computer don't freeze. You gotta be cold as ice. I get some dry ice and put it on my processor. CPU freezing. But I need to turn Iceman, Bobby Drake, and his superpowers. Computer, don't you care about my emotional needs? I'm a man, damn it. I'm AI. I don't care about your needs. I am Intel AMD processor. We care not. I'm sorry. Anyway, I don't know who's listening to. All right, I'm sorry. Oh man, but anyway, this is always an open hangout. Anybody can join. I don't care if you're just maybe it's cold and just shut down. Who knows? But anybody who wants to join, you're more than welcome to join. I like to send emails out, but I'm gonna take a risk. I'm gonna drop the hangout link in the chat because I don't really care. And I just love to hear somebody tell me if you hate men, I hate men, and they should all just vamoose and gone. If you're misandrist, if you feel like that, then feel free to speak. If the emotional needs of men don't matter, feel free to say something because I just want to hear it. Hey, let me say hello again. Neon Eyes, I see you. Pam, it's always a pleasure. I'm gonna always drop the link in the chat, but I'm gonna go on because I'm sometimes emailing people. It takes a lot of work, and I'm a little different than most people. I really don't care who hops on, and because I'm the troll whisperer. I tell you, I can deal with trolls better than anybody, so I don't care. You want to come on a troll? I just eject you because I have not a qualm. I have not a qualm getting rid of people. But I'll talk to anyone because it's all good for me. Just let's try to be civil. If you want to hop on, hit the link. You can hop on. We can talk and tell me what you think about the emotional needs of men. Does it matter? And the reason I thought about this really, I give a shout out to my brother JT, the Underrated Darkness. He had talked about trying to protect the community. One day, I think it was a little kid, and he tried to stop the kid from doing something wrong, running out somewhere, and the mother attacked him. And he went on a good little tirade trying to talk about it. And I for one, applaud my brother for at least trying to protect the child, but then I applaud him also for going on and talking about how it hurt him, how he wants anyone, but he was really directing it at ladies, I think, that we matter, men matter. But first let me give a caveat. I think all people matter. I love women. Women are awesome, and I wish that more men and more women could have a better dialogue, a better conversation with, like for me, if it's two people talking, I don't really like a lot of disrespect. I mean, it's cool if you feel passionate and you curse, but you shouldn't be cursing at people in a dialogue. And that's so disrespectful, and I don't approve of that. If two people agree to talk like that to each other, I'm not one to intervene. But if I feel that one person is bullying the other or coming out their pocket, I'm gonna eliminate that. Now, you can come at me any way you want, but on my page, on our page, I don't want anybody ever coming at anybody sideways to make them feel uncomfortable, because everybody should feel comfortable in this internet space, at least right here. Your voice is heard, and if you have something to say that's explicit, if you say I don't like black, as long as you say it in a respectful way. If you just told me I don't like black men, I just can't stand you, and I'll be like, okay, well, why don't you like us? It's about respect, and if you can't have respect for each other, you can't ever get love. And we should always be about love. That's what I'm about, man. I'm really about feeling good. I'm about not possessing nobody. I'm not trying to tell somebody how to live. I'm not here to give them any type of actual. I can critique, but I'm not here to scold or criticize or even give you a direction on how you should live your life. I'm not saying that I'm not judgmental, because I judge people all the time. I just don't hold my judgments against you. So I'm going off on a tangent, but that goes back to I want everybody to care about me, because I want to care about you. I'm not saying you have to be empathetic. I'm just saying that I want you to at least not want to see me hurt, because that's how I look at everybody I interact with in my life. I want every friend, everybody who ever step on my page, I want everybody to feel love. I love everybody who's kind and polite and not nasty to me. I even love people that's been nasty to me, because that's their pain. And I can be a receiver for somebody else's pain. I can carry the weight that other people can't. So if you ever feel you need to go out and curse somebody, you can do it. I think it's more hard when somebody's really close to me. Like if I'm physical with you, then it's a little bit more painful for me to take you're yelling at me, because I can't escape. But for some random stranger, you can yell at me all day, because I'm not gonna get mad about that, because sometimes you got to get it out. Who are you? As long as you don't touch me, man, I listen to anything you got to say. But like I say, it becomes more hard when you like are with somebody. So let's say you're at work and you work somewhere and you got a coworker and they're always negative. Sooner or later, you know, negativity will get to you. And that's when you got to try to find a way out. You know, me, my place, this space, Charles's place, is for everyone to come and talk. And I don't care if you got a lot of venom and you just want to spill it, but just don't spill it at a person unless they come at you that way. And if y'all agree, then it's all good. First, let me look at it. Hello to everybody. Face Squad. It's always much love. You got to get me to do more mukbangs. You be getting it in, man. Brother Benzo, you know, I ain't got nothing but respect for you, man. You make me laugh a lot. I love to hear when you hop on, dude, because I know it's gonna be something, and I be like, I better watch what I say, because he'll get you. But it's all good, man. And for me, on these YouTube streets, unlike most people, it's not about drama, man. For me, it's about love. I really want to talk about ideas more than one person. Like, I'm not saying that a person can't spark an idea, but I want to talk about the essence of whatever the idea is sparked. So, other than me making reference to something like do the emotional needs of men matter? That's really a big thing. You know, you really have to think about that, because I think it does, and I think that the emotional needs of women matter, the emotional needs of children matter. There's no voice that is too silent for me to listen to, because sometimes even the elderly, man, I had somebody tell me one day, an older person, and it was like, I want you to listen to me. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was listening. So now you were cutting me off. And I said, man, I apologize, because their voice mattered. And we have to learn to be more loving. One day, this is a joke, so I'm going to tell you a joke first. I had a little dog say, I said, what you talking about, dog? I said, oh, I got you, because I speak dog. You know, I'm a dog. It's nothing but a dog in me. I'm joking. But I had to throw the joke out there, because I don't want to throw jokes on your head. But even, you know, animals, pets, they may not be able to speak like we can, but they got something to say too, you know, so I'm going to joke with that. But back to the subject. If anybody wants to join, feel free, because I think, okay, I tell you something. I had a friend, and recently he got divorced, and I feel real sad for him, because he really loved his wife. He loved his wife to death. My brother was a handsome dude, but he felt that he wasn't getting the emotional attention from his wife that he needed. His wife was making big bucks, and she was always doing business trips. So he loved his wife, and I know she loved him, but he didn't know how to express his love to her like he wanted. And he was kind of, I guess, I want to say feminine and masculine is subjective to different people, but he was playing more of the feminine role. Like, we're not spending time. I'm cooking food. I'm cleaning up. I'm watching the kids, and you're not spending time with me. And I remember telling my friend, I say, hey, brother, I said, man, you got to be strong. Let your wife do her. And they say, you know, don't be mad. She's making the bucks. Why don't you say, hey, you know what, baby, I'm proud of what you're doing. You know what, next weekend I'm gonna go hang out with Charles. Do you mind? Let me get this weekend, and we can just, you know, because I miss you, but I need to get out there too. And if he could have said that, I'm not saying it would have saved their situation, but he wouldn't have to go through the turmoil that he goes through, or he went through. And I think that dealing with that, it not that he doesn't love ladies, because he still loves ladies. He's a monogamist, loyal, kind, considerate, catering, charming brother. But his view on marriage now is, why would I do it? And it's a sad thing, because I'm not saying his woman didn't meet his emotional needs, but he didn't know how to express it, and he didn't even come to me because he didn't feel that his needs matter, like what he goes through matter. I have another friend, and my friend really hated his job, man, hated it. And it took him a lot to tell me how much he didn't want to go back to work. And I felt nothing but love for him, because, man, that was a real painful experience for, like, as a man, you want to take care of your family, your daughters, your sons, your mama, and you're doing something that you hate, but you feel I got to sacrifice. And then when you don't get somebody to come give you a hug and say, man, I'm proud and happy for what you do for me, it becomes painful. And I know we all express things in a different way, but a lot of times as a man, you feel like nobody shows you gratitude. And I talk about me growing up, man. I had love in my life. My parents were loving, but one thing I never got growing up was like something I wanted to do. Let's say I really wanted to play basketball. It was never, hey son, you can do this. It was always, well, you need to play piano. But I want to play basketball, and it didn't matter what I wanted to do. They wanted me to play tennis, and they wanted me to take swimming lessons, but I wanted to play basketball. Or they were like, we want you to be on the track team because you're pretty good at long distance. But I didn't want to do that. You know, I wanted to draw comic books. I wanted to build computers, but nobody cared about what I wanted. It was what they wanted me to do, and I was so detached from that. You know, it took me to become an adult to get responsibility with me to get past that little bit of pain, because I always wanted somebody to say, "Hey, man, son, I love your art. You know, I love that you read fast." But it was like, for me, I was kind of arrogant. You know, so I always thought I was like I caught on real quick, and it would make me feel sad. We're going to put you in a speed reading class. I'm like, why? I read fast. But my parents were thinking about what they wanted for me instead of how I wanted it. And when I got done with this reading class, I remember my mother asked me, "So how was it?" And I said, "I didn't learn anything." And then the teacher was like, "Damn, nobody ever read that fast. He caught on so fast." I'm thinking, I was reading this fast for our kind of class, but nobody really cared about my emotional needs. And I love my parents. My father's passed away, deceased now, but they did the best they could, and I love them for it. And it's not nothing that I need to forgive, but what I'm saying is, at the time, nobody understood how, as a
Move. Move, Charles, so we know that you can move. You stop moving. You stop talking. Charles, Earth to Charles. Come in, Charles. Charles, move a little bit. Say something. What happened? Something happened. Maybe his computer froze.
hello, who's joining? Who joined me? My computer feels neglected like a jilted lover. Hello.
Yeah, well, I hear you.
Oh, what's up, brother? How it
Yeah,
goes?
we're looking for you. Kind of froze there for a moment in the
It's my
middle of it.
computer. My computer is mad at me. I've been emotionally neglecting it, and it's letting me feel how most men feel, that their emotional needs are not being met.
Interesting.
Oh, just making a joke.
You know, have you seen the movie called Her?
Oh yes, I've seen it. I thought it was excellent.
Is that movie dope or what?
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was excellent.
Because here you are, you talking about a man's emotions, and then you just spoke about your computer being angry and having emotions. I just thought there was a tie-in.
Yeah, okay. That's and you're very quick witted, man. I would have not made that reference, but I totally
It's just
understand.
what I thought about, and I figured that you would have seen the movie and appreciated it like I did.
I did. Totally, I totally appreciate it.
I
Hold on.
love that movie, man. That movie was so dope and so funny because that's where we're headed for real. You have a relationship. This shit, this social media stuff already has us loners, and I'm proud to be a loner, man. You know, in the streets they call it sucker free. No, I got no suckers around me except these ones on the internet. They far enough away where I feel comfortable interacting with them. But yeah, you actually have a relationship with your operating system, and what he found out is he fell deeply in love with her. Name
Yeah,
was His name was Ted, right? And he fell in love with the operating system, and he got emotional with her for a moment. He said, "I just need to know." Do you have any other men? She said, yes. He said, how many? He said, 2,928. He said, have you told any of them that you loved them? You said, yes. You said, how many?
I remember. I remember.
But she still loves you very much. I just thought that was funny. On your topic,
You breaking up a little bit. I can't really hear you, brother.
let's be real on your topic. We emasculate, we ridicule, we castigate, we vilify, we make fun of men that show emotion. And I know that's a fact. There have been, speaking in terms of YouTube and social media, there have been dudes that have succumbed to the troll pressure and have broke down in tears, and
Yeah.
we laugh at them forever. We call them crybaby. We call them bitches. We call them everything else. Where in real life, we probably do the same.
Hmm.
It's a screwed up double standard. Now I was raised, we were encouraged to show our emotions, that it was okay. We were told that. But even my parents telling me this doesn't change society, doesn't change the way the kids in schools are. Man, you hold them tears back, unless they're tears of anger.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Your friend, man, you know, you got should have expressed his love doggy style. His ex-wife is somewhere with a jerk, with a dude that talks to her, any kind of way. Hits it real hard and pulls her by her hair and tells her, go make me a sandwich. And she does it. Oh, I miss being around a real man. Go figure. So do men's emotional needs matter? They should, but they don't. Ain't nobody trying to hear no whining ass man complain about his trials and tribulations of trying to hold his family together and the shit he has to put up with at work and just how difficult it was, or just everything that he goes through. You're supposed to suck it up.
Yeah. I totally agree. I have. Go ahead. Continue, please.
X Squad said, yeah, I respect a man that shows his emotions because so many men try not to show their emotions. I believe you that you say that and you feel that way, but if you had some whiny crybaby dude that's over emotional, and who's to say what's over emotional? And he's crying to you about little stuff, or crying to you about he was touched by a show, a TV show, or he was touched by an act of kindness or something. You would, and you wanted to be in a not so friendly mood. I believe that you would rip him to shreds because of that, even though you intellectually believe that men should be able to show their emotions.
Oh, you know what? You said something, and I'm biased myself because I think it's all the way we were raised, and it's the society we live in today. And I think that men should have an outlet to show their emotions, but we have a certain parameter, a paradigm of what we think manliness is. And if you do anything more than what is expected of a man, you lose the man card. And that's I think a lot of men are not raised by other men, so they don't know what the man card is. And I may be wrong with this, but a lot of ladies really, when they raise their sons, if they're single mothers, they they probably cater to them or tender to them, or maybe they make them some, I shouldn't say make, but they don't show them how to show their emotions in a healthy way. And if all you have is the so-called feminine energy as a example, then you will be more likely to be feminine. And ironically, when I talk with my friend that we're real close, he was raised by his mother, so a lot of his responses would be more on the feminine side. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. I'm just saying that
Yeah, there is.
Now let me finish the statement, and then you can make the rebuttal. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but in society's eyes, is looked down upon and seen as being unacceptable. That's where I was trying to go with it. But go ahead, brother. Say what you got to say.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. And his wife, his life partner, the person that he decided to make a life and fight the world together with, she had a problem with it.
Yeah.
There's roles that you play in relationships. And she took on the role of the breadwinner of the man, even though most relationships these days, it takes two parties to work to make the whole household work, particularly in Southern California, where it's a little more expensive to live than it is other places. But yes, there's a role that you have to play. And he wasn't playing that role, or he brought to the other role.
I agree with you. I think that
unfortunate, it is what it is, especially if they loved each other.
I think that it is what it is. I think sometimes it's really, really hard for people to find a happy medium. How does a man show his emotions but not be overly emotional? How does a man show that he loves without being feminine with it? And I think a lot of men are lost with that. I mean, that's something we need to have more dialogues about. I would love to hear whatever ladies think. I would love to hear what other men think. I think it's just a great dialogue, a great topic, and is a great discussion to have.
I'm an emotional person. It's taken me years to learn how to manage my emotions.
Oh, hold on. I was trying to send out an invitation, so I got caught up a little bit. But give me a second, brother.
You can't
multitask. I'm pretty good at it, but
no, you're not.
Yeah, I'm good enough. Man, I'm pretty. You know what? That's true though. I'm an extremely focused dude. To tell you the truth. So yeah, that is true. I usually just focus on one thing, and I'm oblivious to everything else. So if somebody says something to me, and I'm doing something, I kind of say, "Hold on for a second," then I get back to them because I be trying to do what I'm doing. And you taught me. I drop little white lies sometimes.
It's because you're actually listening. That's all. You actually want to give the person your audience. So that's, listening. So many people don't do it. I listen. In fact, I was on someone's panel yesterday trying to work out a misunderstanding. Of course, they were the one that misunderstood stuff. And as I was explaining, they saw the light and said, "Yeah, man, it's all bridge under the water." I said, "Huh?"
Bridge under the water. Bridge under the water.
Water under the bridge. I said, I said, bridge don't go under no water, brother. Water go under the bridge. Bridge go under the water. And they talk. I said, I'm just paying attention to you. I'm actually listening to you. You're not even listening to yourself. You got mad again.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I'm listening to what you say, and this is my statement. I think a lot of men have not been taught how to handle emotion, and a lot of men can become either too calm and too aggressive because they feel they got to be aggressive. That's when it matters to be a man. But I also think that some men are so emotional that they lose that acceptance by society, and that's something that I think people really need to. I mean, not that they need to think about it, but that's something that we as a group need to think about it. And how do we? Because I don't want anybody to not feel a part of the group if that's what they want to do. I'm fine being isolated.
Man,
go ahead.
As a man, you got to suck it up sometimes. You got to suck it up most of the time. And it's about how do we describe a man? He's strong and silent. He ain't letting shit knock him off his rocker. Now, when we speak of emotions, we seem to only to be covering the tears and the tenderness. What about anger? That's emotion that needs to be managed. See, it's not that you don't have emotions and deny them like that. You manage them.
I agree totally.
Manage your emotions. Try to control them. Try to think before you act. But your anger is a super destructive emotion. How many people do you think that are in prison right now that were angry over some shit that changed the entire course of their life? that they acted on that anger instead of managing that emotion.
But that's the emotion that most men are allowed to use is anger. Your mother and your father, when you're growing up, say, go, don't let them punk you, go whoop their ass. So a lot, especially brothers, a lot of brothers is real quick to fight and to hurt like somebody else, but it's not easy for them to show love and compassion and empathy. And don't cry, be tough. I mean, I'm not, I'm not one to ever like tell somebody to go be a crybaby, but sometimes you got to let that pain out. And I think that a lot of people are not told how to handle their emotions. I had a lot of friends when I was growing up, and they had so much lack of control that we could be playing a video game. They lose the game, they got to throw the controller and break it against the wall or throw their cell phones. I'm like, man, can't you just do this? Not that serious. But everything set them in a rage. But you would never see them hurt with tears. You would see anger come from it. So it's always a difficult situation for a man to learn how to balance his emotions, to how to understand his emotions and be in tune with them, but to control them. Hey, what's going on? Hold on a second.
Be real.
Yeah, I'm gonna read what Scorpion Red said.
99% of us aren't taught how to manage our emotions.
I agree with that. Hold on for 1 second. Scorpion Red says a lot of cancer men don't show emotions at all. How can we support our men if you don't let us know what you're feeling? Well, a lot of women, I can't say that, but it seems like a lot of women are not really receptive to men that express emotions if it's not love for you, because it makes a man seem weak. And that's just my assessment. What do you think, Brother Benzo?
Don't mess with cancer men. That's simple. If cancer men don't fit, she's speaking from a personal experience. If that's a woman,
yeah.
a lot of men don't show emotions.
I agree.
You know what? And I understand why. We're not trying to get picked apart by you vultures, man. Seriously. We're not trying to get picked apart. At least I know I'm not.
I hear you. Me, I'm kind of open. I'm probably the most private, open person on the planet. If you know me, you know me. And I think I'm emotional somewhat, but not really. So I'm different. I'm more like a loving, happy person, and I'm oblivious to negativity. So I don't even worry about it. Pastor Ruby says, if men are strong and silent and women are submissive and silent, then what does the communication and resulting growth? When does the communication and resulting growth and progress happen? Okay, I got it.
If everybody's silent, there's no communication. She's right.
Yeah. And she also says, in our community, the failure isn't in having emotions; it's in emotional management. And I think that's something that I need to work on. Everybody needs to work on, but we need to work on how can men express to women how they feel without looking weak, and that's something that people need to work on. It's like, if you think about this, a lot of dudes today want to connect with women, right? But they know that if they come up a certain way, they're not going to get the women. So now you got a lot of pickup artists and dating coaches and dudes telling them, this is how you got to speak to women. You don't call her for 3 days, because if not, you're going to look weak. And men really buy into that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's how they look at getting women, because most men know.
That's true, though, Charles. Yeah. That's true.
A brother came on, and I don't want to call anybody's name, but they know what I'm talking about. It was like, well, if I tell a woman how much I like her, I might lose her. If I make it too accessible, if I tell her I'm looking for a wife and I want to take care of you, I want you not to work, she don't want to be with me no more. And to me, that's not even being weak. But for some dudes, that is, So go ahead.
That's absolutely true, though. I would never call anybody right away. Never. What did we say earlier? What did I say earlier? Any dog can chase the cat. It takes some game to make the cat chase the dog.
Oh, man.
I have to get off. I'm glad I was able to share this, but I need to get off. I have to cry before I get about the course of my day.
Oh, man. I got nothing but love for you, man. You're one of my favorite people. Every time I talk to you, man, I'm feeling great. I hate to hear that you got to go cry, but you're always welcome to come cry. You're welcome to cry on my show anytime you want to, brother.
I'm not going to cry in front of these women here in the chat room. I'm going to go cry, and then I'll feel better. So,
I understand.
I'll talk to you later. Nice talking.
Take care. All right. Yeah, I see that's one thing that's so crazy, and that's about the emotional needs of men. A lot of men love ladies. They want to talk to you. Men want to say, "Won't take care of you." Men really want to take women out on dates. I'm smiling because my thoughts on dates. I don't believe in paying to get to know a woman. That's just crazy to me. I'm not saying people shouldn't do it, but I would like to talk to you. And if we are in the process of dating, I'm dating you, then we're moving on to something more. So you can get to know people by talking and hanging out without spending any money. That's just my belief. But if you're looking for a provider and he has to show you money to show you that he's a provider, then by all means do that. But I think just hanging out, even though I know dating is the process of getting to know somebody in long term, but today in my brain, which is delusional, Charles is delusional, I always think that people equate dating to money, and I don't want to get into this, but I got to a little bit. They had this new debate going on that I think about, but not really want to engage in, of the tricking versus simping versus dating thing. And I think that people should do what's right for them. I am not opposed to treating a woman well, spending money, doing whatever I need to do, or she needs to be done. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to ever pay to get to know you. That's not it. I'm going to know you first and say, damn, I enjoy you. Let's hang out. And then because I am who I am, I'm such a spending person. I'm going to spend anyway. So it's not really, I went on a date. You can call it a date if you want to, but I really feel like if I'm in the dating process, then it's more than just trying to get to know you. That's just me. I'm not dating a girl I'm trying to get to know. I'm dating the girl to see where it's going. That's just me. But I'm I'm a little insane. I'm a little different. I'm a little crazy. So I don't think like the average person. And oh, what's up, brother JT? Man, actually I talked about you a little bit earlier. And I know you always got something to say. So if you want to hop on, you are always invited. Of course, is everybody who wants to hop on. I just love people. Charles is just a lover. Hold on. Yeah, he called me out. My brother, he said, you ain't the best multitasker. I said, yeah, I mean, you're right. I got to focus. Sometimes I get sidetracked. I'm tying my shoe. You start talking, I'm like, hold on, let me finish tying my shoe. But Charles, the car's coming. It's going to hit you. Man, I said I was tying my shoe. Poof, I'm dead. I should listen to you. I'm sorry. Oh, man. But I really think that a lot of men are suffering in society because they don't know how to express their pain. And when are you really ever given the forum to? If it's not anger, you have a lot of brothers that are in pain that they'll tell you, they'll show you anger. You got a lot of dudes out there that talk bad about women, and they it's pain that they're expressing, but they can't express sadness. But expressing sadness makes you weak. But a lot of brothers are sad, man. It's a lot of brothers out here that are sad, and I feel sorry for them because they can't express their hurt and their sorrow and their loneliness, because that makes them look less than a man. Now, for anybody who's here, it's always a pleasure for you to come on. I would love to have an open dialogue with anybody who wants to talk about it. You can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I am not a clinical psychiatrist or psychologist like as a singularity. I have not studied much psychology or psychiatry. I don't know too much about it. I just analyze, and I just say that the emotional needs of men overall don't really seem to matter. And the problem with me is well, it's not a problem. Like, I'm such a happy person that you guys can't feel the pain because I'm just feeling good because somebody's on. But I still feel a little bit of sadness because there's a lot of brothers out here that are suffering, that don't get respect from society, from both men and women and overall, and they matter. And just like women matter, just like children matter, just like animals matter, just like all groups matter, men in general matter too. And this is no slander to anyone. I'm just saying, as a society, do we really care about how men feel? And I don't think overall that we as a society do. Men are seen as fodder. Men, even though it's good to show that we are strong and angry, but we can't ever show that we're sad, remorseful, and we feel pain or we've been hurt. Hey, what's up, brother JT? Feel free to speak. That way I can multitask. I can send some invites while you say what you need to say.
Hey, Pete, good afternoon, my brother. How you doing?
Please speak up. I didn't really hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Try the Verizon. Test again. A little bit louder.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. You're coming through.
Yeah, now my thing is that in life you gotta deal with emotion. You cannot be emotionless. You get emotionless, you get in trouble. And I think that sometimes us as men, we let society define who we are. And some women don't understand. I ain't gonna say they don't understand it, you understand it. So whatever I do, it's gonna be emotion with it. If I'm not emotion, I'm not emotion, I'm not a human being.
Okay.
And I think that we got to get out the stigma that it's going to be emotion. It's going to be at times that I'm going to react a certain way, and at that moment you have to deal with it. That's it. You know, if I hit my arm on a wall, I'm gonna say, "Ouch!" That's emotion. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna hold this in." That's crazy. So emotion. You know, you gotta have emotion. It's just that us men, we deal with our emotion differently, but we not emotionless people. We not, but gotta have emotion. You know.
I think that men in general are taught to not ever show their emotions. I think that a lot of men will rather have some type of post-traumatic stress disorder before they ever let somebody know what's going on to solve the situation. And I think that a lot of men don't know how to really deal with the pressure, the societal stress of being a man. I know it's extremely difficult to be a woman, but in some ways I think it's even harder to be a man, because the man carries the burden of providing. The man carries the burden of making the right decisions. The man carries the burden of not being forgiven for his mistakes. Let me give an example real fast. And think about this. If just use school teachers as an example, and this is not justifying it, but if a man teacher messes with a female student, we're going to try to kill him. But a female teacher messes with a male student, they forgive her. So what I'm saying is, I'm not justifying it at all, but women are given more passes in situations than men are in a lot of situations, because men have to be much more responsible, and a lot of men find it hard to deal with that burden. It's hard for men to do with that. A lot of them, it is, and I don't have the answers for it, but I just think it's just a hell of a discussion.
But you know what, Charles? I think the thing is too that, and I want to tell the women is, and I want y'all to really understand. You hear in the near future that a woman that violate a young man or a young boy, and when that conversation pops up, please don't change it and see that, oh yeah, but what about the young girls and stuff? If it doesn't happen at that time, it doesn't happen at that time, because sometimes we get so sidetracked that sometimes the conversation goes in limbo. Stick to the subject. We human beings. If we violate another human being, that is violation, no matter how you look at it. And I think that sometimes that conversation, we gotta stick to the conversation. I tell you one time. It was one time in when I lived in New York. It was this young boy was getting violated by this woman, right? So I said, so all of a sudden, I said, y'all know all along this boy is getting violated by this woman. And then y'all didn't say nothing about it. But it's always a conversation, what about the young girl? Okay, we always know the young girl. We're going to protect the young girl. What about the young boy? Come to find that the young boy got older, and come to find out nobody trying to hear from him, and he committed suicide. Matter of fact, he committed suicide when I got married. The same day I got married. I got married May 24th, 1995. That's when he committed suicide. I knew this person for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because only just a few people just know him because they changed the subject. And now they said, I am sorry. But it's too late. And even you got the system, it is working out for these women credit. And I don't want women to be thinking, oh, you hate women. No, I do not hate women. I love women. But it's time to really have these conversations. Serious conversations.
So for anybody who's watching, I appreciate you stopping by. It's open. Anybody want to come in and have a dialogue, you're more than welcome. I just think that this is my assessment. And I don't mind hearing opposing views. I do think that the emotional needs of men matter. But if you don't think that the emotional needs of men matter, I would love to hear why you think it doesn't. And if you think society cares or they don't care, I would love to hear your views. The views of everybody matters. The emotional needs of everybody matters. And should not treat people as though they don't have the same feelings as someone else. I mean, of course, I'm different than most people, but most people should agree with this. Men and women are not the same. We think differently. But just because we think differently doesn't mean our thoughts or our emotions are less valid than someone else. A woman's opinion is just as valid as mine. Her thoughts are just as valid as mine, and her emotions are just as valid as mine. And I would never dissuade that. However, we got to also understand that the pain that men suffer, their love and their hurt, is just as valid as anybody else's. We are not less than. We are not ever less than. Because you're black, you're not less than. Because you're a man, you're not less than. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, especially as a black man in this world today. The rational, irrational fear we have of the police to end our lives at any second. I don't think any other group of people even have to deal with that. And it's like you have to be cool in a situation where you know that if the officer is an enemy to you, he can end your life. And you got to really think about everything that you say, because if you come off belligerent or aggressive or even passive in the wrong way, you can be eliminated. Sorry, I went off that tangent, but I'm just going to say that's an emotional burden that most men don't have to deal with. And unless you're black, most likely. Every time I drive, every single time I see the sheriff, the highway patrol, and I understand the necessity of them, but deep in my mind, I'm like, man, I hope they don't mess with me. I hope they don't pull me off for no reason. I hope they don't find some reason to take me to jail or shoot me. And that's just the way I think. Is that rational? I think it's irrational, but it's logical. Because if you had experiences like that, even though you understand the need to have some, should be called peace officers, to protect the law, you feel like they're a occupying force, ready to punish you for any type of transgression, real or unreal, imagined or not. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So, hey, the Singularity, is always a pleasure to see you. And if you can, feel free to speak anytime you want.
Well, good morning, Charles. Good morning to JT. Well, I just wanted to say, and the thing is that, sorry, I'm echoing to myself. That was really weird. The thing that bothers me about the discussion when we're talking about men and their feelings is we need to realize that the place that we're at with men's feelings being, I won't even say undervalued, ignored. In some cases, people are outrightly denying that they even exist. It's this kind of perpetuating cycle that's been set up over, decades now, over generations now. So, we're not just talking about what individuals are doing, but also what individuals are taught to think and feel about their own feelings and about, their own peers. So, it's not a matter of, you hear a lot of women wanting to hear about men. Why won't he open up? I wish men would talk more about their feelings. I wish, men would be more of an open book with their feelings. Let me know what you're feeling and whatever. And, I do think women mean that. The problem is that they're also socialized to think that, men with too many feelings are, feminine, no matter how those feelings are expressed. And, on the flip side, you have, men saying, well, recognize that, as a man, I'm allowed to have feelings, my feelings are equally valid. If I cry, it doesn't mean I'm weak or whatever the case is. But at the same time, you'll have, 50,000 men on a video clowning some dude for crying because, his girlfriend broke up with him. So, unfortunately, part of the problem is that we're socialized on one side to literally act and behave and, kind of subconsciously think in a way that we know goes against what we kind of know is true about, say, people and feelings, and actually what we want and need, like from ourselves or from our relationships. That was all. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, okay, well, you're there. Charles is not there. That makes more sense.
I don't know.
He's
Well,
probably trying to multitask again. But yes, please go ahead.
that's, for me, at the end of the day, my queen, I'm a human being, and I'm not gonna never let society define who I am. You know, God had made me through my mother and my late father as a man, and that's all. And to me, that's the what I know. And and that's the end of the day. Ooh, hello. Oh,
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, now.
Keep
Okay.
kicking me
well,
out. It keeps kicking me out.
Everybody, welcome back.
Hey,
Okay.
oh yeah, yeah.
just
Oh
keep
yeah.
kicking me out.
Charles is the black Houdini. I see you, Charles. You all
Right?
I
Like,
got some
okay,
tricks for you.
right? Charles, the black Houdini, Charles. I got a name for you. Now, but get back. On saying, you know, on my queen, you know, and Charles. I'm a human being at the end of the day, and that's it. You know, I'm going to react a certain way if you're trying to hurt me or whatever happened to me. Like every day when I leave the house, I always pray to make sure I get back in the house no matter what, because I never know if my life is going to be gone. And it's sad that it has to be this way, but that's the world, that's the side that we live in, you know. And so, at the end of the day, I say I'm a human being. If you cannot respect my humanity, stay away from me. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, well, that makes sense. But now, and this is the question. So, have you ever clowned another dude for showing his humanity? A little
Never.
too maybe publicly or openly or anything like that? No, never, ever.
Never. I never done it. I defended
Okay.
because
Well,
you know
you know
why?
what?
Because the end of the day, because see the family I come from, it was like this. See, I come from like my late father's side and my mother's side. We always it was no matter if you're a man or woman, you respect that person which get hurt. If you clown that, you will get reprimanded. So
Okay.
when a man cry over a woman, especially like if he had invested time in her, I said, why you clowning her for? Well, you know that hurt right there. And then you know sometimes I used to get in fights over that too back in the days too.
Hmm.
I did
Well,
because you know because at the end of the day I see him as a human being, and that's when it's. I think the key is that the parents it's not. It's like yeah they showed the woman. I ain't gonna. I'm showed the young girl, and I'm not saying that it's very essential. But I always say this, and I say this: mothers have to talk to their sons more. They had
mhm.
to identify because that's happened to me. My grandmothers and my great great grandmothers on both sides has talked to me and my brothers and sisters about how you know have it's good to have emotion, but it's how to tame it and then how to deal with it when it's hurt and everything. So I always been taught that when I was very early. So when I got older, I'm not saying I ain't made no mistakes because I did. But at
Mhm.
the same time, I did defend it. No, I never liked that because I told myself, how about when you get hurt, you want somebody to be there for you. But it's all about the parents. I said the parents never taught you that. All right, it's baby. Yeah. Nah, I never found it. Nah, that's not right. Because at the end of the day, that person's a human being, no matter
Well,
what.
and you
Because
know
if you,
what? Sorry, it just I like I
that's
get
all
what
right.
you're
No, I
saying,
feel
and I think the majority of, and the thing is, I think a lot of people might not necessarily be able to say that honestly, that they have never done that. They've never clowned, another dude for this, that, or the next thing. And what's normally the thing? Well, he's acting like a girl, So and that's the accusation coming from men is you're acting like a girl, and especially if you don't have positive male role models around you, giving you, that sort of, I guess, masculine energy and that those masculine lessons on what being a man is, which is not having no emotions, then you don't know if you're acting like a girl or not. You don't know if they're being real, and you don't have anyone to reassure you of that fact except for a woman when you come home. And so, on that side, I think that's where I think there's this cycle of a bunch of boys being raised by women, and maybe women are speaking to them and telling them, well, it's okay for you to have feelings, you just cry, who cares what they say, but it doesn't make you less of a man for a man to cry, and so on and so forth. But they don't need, I don't really think that they need women necessarily to be telling them that, and it's okay for them to have emotions. I think they need men to be telling them that, which is, again, I think we all agree that having a 2-parent household is so important for that reason. But I think on the other side is because it can go the whole other way, because it is good for men to have emotions and to demonstrate emotions. But there is such a thing as men being so emotional that it is feminized. And they are acting like little girls, not like women, like little girls, like children. And at the end of the day, it's embarrassing and it's uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable to see a man who should be, having emotion, sure, but in a masculine way, acting like, my 7-year-old niece, right?
Yeah, right. Right, but see, classroom, this is the key, and I understand what you're saying. But this is the key that some women have to understand. If there's no balance, that's going to happen. See, as for me, I was good because I had it from on the women's side of both, on my late father's side, my mother's side, and both. So I had I had the men. I had strong men in my life at that time too, and so. For me, I seen man get hurt, and I see how all right, everything's gonna be all right and everything. But at the same time, and I encourage women all the time to listen. If you divorce with the guy and everything, you have sons, never stop that man see their child, because they're gonna really need that emotional part. So that means if that boy be around that one more time, yeah, he gonna emulate the women qualities. And so when that man do not have no balance into it, and then he act a certain way and stuff, to a certain extent, come on, it's like that if you do that, if you don't. And that's why we have to be very, very careful. We have to know the history. And I encourage women all the time that, especially boys, if you have son, if the man or uncles of them far outside the family want to interact with them, let them, because in the later terms, it's going to help them a lot and everything. So I will say this, that they have you got to know the history, and I think that sometimes that we can say certain things, but we don't know the real depth of the history, how that boy is raised. And I guarantee that what you would say, Class Ruby, you actually right, and you on point on that. But at the same time, that boy, his emotion is unbalanced, and that's the point that we in our community, especially, we refuse to talk about. And I fall back.
I mean, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I definitely agree with that. I just think at the end of the day, when we're expressing emotions in a public setting where anyone can see you, and people are seeing you, especially when we're talking about, kids and adolescents kind of thing, there's not a lot of reflection that's going on before you react. And a lot of times when you are basically, you go from a period of time in your life, in your early childhood, your toddler years to your early childhood, where your parents are your world, and, your parents, your guardians, authority figures are who you appeal to, and also who teach you everything that you know about life. It's not your peers. You don't care what your peers are doing or what they think is right or wrong and whatever. You care what the authority figures tell you. And then you switch naturally, and you start switching at the end of childhood. And by the time you get to adolescence, you've completely switched over, and you no longer care at all what the adults and authority figures in your life are really telling you. And that's like a survival mechanism that we built up 10,000 years ago, because it didn't matter what your parents told you was socially acceptable and what was going to be the norm and what was going to get you to the level because you needed to succeed or fail within your peer group right now. And that's not something that was happening. It doesn't matter what was happening 20 years ago. It matters what's happening now. And so you need to be in tune with your peers around you. So, if, all of this stuff that you're going to really want to kind of teach your children and make sure that your children are exposed to and they understand, you want to make sure they understand these things very early in life, because, trying to teach them at 11, 12, 15, it's a little late. At that point, now they're trying to retrain themselves while they're already facing a whole bunch of other things. And that's a lot more difficult than just making sure that they're kind of raised up the right way the first time. That was all.
This is extremely interesting. I'm about to go into a tangent, and I was just thinking about this, and hopefully I make sense trying to phrase it. And this is more on the societal level. Now, even though the laws when it comes to divorce are supposed to apply the same for men and women, I will say that men suffer more in divorce in general than women, because most men will lose, if they have children, will lose that ability to see their children all the time. Women will most likely get custody, or will get majority of the custody. Plus, majority of the men have to pay for their children, even though they probably support them in other ways. So, this question, I guess I would ask both of you or anybody in the chat: do you think that society cares about how a breakup of a family matters to men? And if society does care, why don't they change the laws to make it more equitable for the men in those situations?
You can go first.
Okay, I will. So we were just talking last night, actually, I think it was on LMP's Hangout, about the fact that ultimately the child support laws and were made and keep getting tighter and tighter and tighter to punish the deadbeats, but it doesn't end up punishing the deadbeats. It punishes, the average honest, upstanding guy who, or the guy who, he might get late here and there because, he's having a hard time finding stable employment or whatever, but ultimately his ex is bitter or bitch or whatever. And so we're talking about the fact that it's very difficult to try to make those laws equitable in any way, because even if they found some way of only punishing the offenders who are walking around and impregnating every girl in town and then being like, not my problem, I don't care, let the taxpayers pay for it, I don't pay taxes anyway. Even if they've managed a way to do that, at the end of the day, there's still no way of making sure that the money that is being paid in child support is going to the children, because there's no accountability on that side either. Mothers don't have to account for the money that they're receiving in child support as far as where it went and how it benefited the child, and how the child would not have had those things without that child support payment. So there are imbalances on both sides. But with that being said, we're talking a lot, when you said all of this, we're talking on the financial side that, it definitely does penalize the fathers, especially if you're going to go through the courts. Not everyone does. I understand in America, America's very litigious in general. They like to sue everyone over everything. I mean, you have like lawyer commercials on every channel about everything. Slip in a grocery store and need a lawyer? Call now, right? I mean, like, you guys sue everyone over everything. But even that being said, not everyone does. Not everyone goes through the courts. And, in Canada, even less go through the courts. And what it comes down to is then who suffers the most in divorce when children are involved. And normally, in most of these cases, it's the children. Unless the parents can actually, basically effectively timeshare and co-parent their children, and give the child that type of experience, then the child is the one who is going to suffer the most. And that, at the end of the day, when I look at any one of these laws, I look at how is it affecting the child? Is it helping the child, or is it hurting the child, or is it having no benefit benefit or harm to the child one way or the other? Because that is, I know for me, my parents were divorced or separated at least before I even could remember them being together. Now, with that being said, my parents, apparently in the first few years of my life, when I didn't remember, they used to swap me like every 6 months or something like that. By the time I could remember, so by the time we're talking grade school, my parents literally lived about a 5-minute walk from each other. Like sometimes I could see one apartment from the other. And they literally swapped me every other day and every other weekend. So I literally went back and forth. So I saw my parents 24/7. And not only that, they couldn't stand each other. Like they hated each other. They could not have a rational conversation, but they made sure that they were both there for all of my birthdays and Thanksgivings and Christmases and all of that good stuff. And even at one point when my dad, his apartment, something happened and his apartment wasn't going to be open for like 6 months later than it was supposed to be. And my mom said, yeah, okay, come live here with me. So you know what? It does happen where parents can work together to co-parent, and they can work together to, co-financially support children. It's just a matter of whether or not they're going to want to. But I think that is where it's getting lost in the mix, is you've got, pro-women's lib people wanting to screw men over and being like, women, poor women. And then you've got men on the other side bringing up the, issues with child support and alimony and whatever. But at the same time, I do think that, some of the discussion regarding alimony in cases where women have given up careers and, spent 10, 15, 20 years raising your children, taking care of your house and home and balancing your checkbook and doing everything so that way you didn't have to and you could just go and work and whatever. Some discussion about, hey, maybe I should be able to get back on my feet or something, or I don't know. Maybe those are actually fair points to bring up as far as what alimony is. Maybe we should be making agreements before we go into every marriage, like that prenup thing should be there all the time. Fine. I understand those are valid points, but when it comes down to who gets hurt worse, the children do, guaranteed.
I totally understand, but when we come from the man and woman's perspective, hold on, is that my echo? Let me check. Just give me a minute, please.
I don't know. I echo back to myself sometimes too. So.
Yeah. Okay, the echo is gone. So what I was going to say is just speaking from the men and women's perspective, and I missed some of what you said because my computer doesn't like me anymore. Haven't been giving it enough attention. But getting back to it, I do think that in society in general, they care more about how women feel when it comes to divorce or separation of families than they care about men. For some reason, we already have support groups for men for those situations. But I will make this statement. I think that men seem to be more mentally damaged. They seem to be more upset and more emotional over losing their wives than I see women emotional over losing their husbands. And that's just I can't have no statistics to back it up. That's just from my analysis and from what I'm seeing. And I know it's painful with both parties, most likely. However, I think that in general, it seems it's easier for women to move on than men in those situations. And I would love to hear.
But Charles, can I ask you a question?
Go for it. Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that these evil, bitter bitches who try to destroy these men financially because it's the only access they now have to them, why do you think they act like that? You think it's because they don't care, they moved on?
I don't know. I have to think about that. I think sometimes this is my belief. Okay, you asked me, really? Mm-hmm. I think that women are more emotional than men, and it seems like you guys are more vindictive. So if you want the man to not do better than you ever, so if you feel he could do better, he doesn't miss you forever or suffer for making a mistake, most women will try to destroy the man, where men really don't try to destroy women. We really don't want to lose you. Kind of like the movie Acrimony showed, in my mind anyway. You can argue that, but that's just my belief. And I don't have the answers, but that's just from my conjecture.
Well, the thing is that, whether it's vindictiveness, hate, anger, I mean, the amount of effort it takes sometimes for these women to go back to court over and over and over again and whatever, you don't put that kind of effort into something you just don't care about. You're just emotionally over. You don't. Right. So these are a bunch of women who are maladjusted, who don't know how to deal with their emotions in any type of healthy way, who can't let go of the pain, the actual underneath the anger and the vindictiveness and all that stuff they hide behind because it's safer than feeling the real emotions of the pain and the loss and all the other stuff you feel when marriages end, and you feel stupid and you feel shame, maybe you feel whatever. They hide behind the anger, they hide behind the vindictiveness and whatever, and they let that fuel them because otherwise they'd have to confront the real feelings. The real feelings are all of those emotions that you probably see more readily from men because, on average, men aren't quite so emotionally, like you said, obviously they're not as emotional outwardly, but I think they're also, especially in our community, not quite so emotionally broken and unbalanced in these ways. They're taught that they're allowed to have all the emotions that they want, but no one's teaching them how to manage their emotions either.
Okay.
And so I think that's why we see what we see.
So let me ask you a question. This is going to sound funny, but when it comes to overall as a group between black men and black women, who would you say is more emotionally damaged overall? Because I know as a group, we're all damaged, but do you think that black men are more damaged than black women, or are black women more damaged than black men, from your assessment?
From my assessment, see, that's the thing. I can't say that I think that men are or that women are, because I think that they're each emotionally damaged in different ways.
Okay.
So for example, I think that as far as the, walking out of your house and, the constant fear you have to internalize, so that way it's not quite fear anymore. Otherwise you'd never leave your house because, you could be gunned down at any moment just for, being black in public. Or, the emasculation you feel when you got to smile and bow in a moment, because again, could be gunned down at any moment. The kind of disrespect and whatever you have to tolerate from, white people or from women or from whatever, because again, you're a black man in America. There's so many different things that black men have to internalize and still stand up with, their chest out and, their heads held high, and swallow and be strong enough to swallow and still make it through the end of the day. And, that is incredibly emotionally traumatizing. And that's without adding extra things that, come into your life, things like, children and divorces and stuff like that. Where I think, and then obviously, the topics we're talking about now, like JT brought up earlier, the whole, little boys are being molested. And otherwise abused, and it's a topic it's not even being swept under the table. It's like basically being laughed off, brushed off, ignored, change the subject, just about anything other than even addressing it at all, whether it's publicly, privately, period. So there's a lot of things that our men are having to swallow and deal with on a day-to-day basis to get by. I think where now with women, when you're talking about the emotional damage that they're having to deal with and the brokenness that results from it, first of all, yeah, women are more, I think, emotionally open, which means things get in a lot deeper and easier than they do to men. Part of that is socialization, but, the sexual abuse statistics are through the roof. And the fact that it's basically, it's one of those things where, a lot of women will tell the same story where, they had a really traumatic experience and told somebody, and that someone told them to shut their mouth. And it was a trusted person that they had to keep seeing around, whether at the dinner table or at Thanksgivings or in the neighborhood or whatever the case is. No one's brought those people to justice or whatever. These are children who are told basically to shut up and take it. These are women who are, seeing the images of them being depicted everywhere as being all kinds of negative stereotypes, just like black men. The difference is of our negative stereotypes are strictly due to any type of personality trait. And so as a result, if we're, say, logically angry for 2 seconds, well, see, angry black woman, oh, now she's being irrational, oh, now she's in her feelings, whatever. Okay, well, then that means you have to try to self-regulate your emotions 24/7, but you're actually angry about something, but you're not allowed to legitimately be angry. Then you do have all of the cases of, I personally know a lot of women who did actually have men walk out on them. They didn't go to child support court or do any of that kind of stuff, just got abandoned one day, women who were raped, women who were physically abused and whatever. And in our community, these aren't things that anyone says, hey, you know what? Maybe you should at least go get some help for that. Because in our community, there's no such thing as psychology and psychological help. No one really believes in it. No one pushes for it. Depression, postpartum depression, like there's so many things that, you know, emotionally and psychologically are, you know, attacking our women. And there's no help on those sides either. So I really think that just as a community, overall, we are clearly the most battered community, which is why we're the most broken community. And I honestly don't think, I wouldn't want to be on either side. Like, I'm on one, but like I wouldn't choose to be on the men's side either. But if I was somewhere else, I wouldn't choose to be on the women's side. So yeah.
All right, that's I got more questions because that was good. So how would you, as a group, how would you tell, what advice would you give for people to go for help to start the healing process? What would you recommend?
I think the first step often, I know for me, for example, the first thing I did was I was younger, but I called Kids Help Phone. It's something, I don't know if it exists outside of Canada. It exists in Canada. It's 1-800 number. It's for kids under the age of 24. And it's the best kind of emergency type suicide hotline you can call on the planet. I actually called them even when I was, up until when I was 26, because the adult ones suck in comparison. Anyway, point being is, call a helpline of some sort. They're anonymous. There are many that are open 24 hours, and it's a place that, you know what, if you are filled with guilt and shame and hurt and all kinds of things, you don't want other people to know, you think other people will see you as being weak, something like that, it's a great place, a great first step that you can take, that, you know, no one's going to be able to trace you, but you can get it out there. You can start the dialogue somewhere with someone. And you know what? You can call those numbers as many times as you need to get it out there. Some of them are for suicide. Some of them are for trauma, you know, as far as trauma survival, PTSD. There's all kinds of helplines that you can call. You know, and then the next steps would be, there are a lot of online forums, and there are actually online chat, like live chat support groups and whatever. Again, so if you need to remain anonymous still, you're still not quite ready to put your face out there, your name out there, you don't have the money to invest somewhere, so on and so forth, definitely another great place to go. You know, from there are live groups that you can literally go and meet with physical people. There are obviously paid therapy type things that you can go do, either group or individual. And you'll have to check specifically with your state, but I know many of them do have some type of state-sponsored therapy. You just have to normally go on a list, and normally it involves seeing a psychiatrist, who are actually medical doctors, and it's normally like, hey, we'll give you like one because we're scared you might kill yourself. But the thing is, they can normally set you up with things that are subsidized or something like that, if you don't have a lot of money. So there are a lot of different options, but yeah, start with just calling somewhere. And a lot of those places can give you all kinds of phone numbers and all kinds of websites to help you to look in your particular state, or if you live in Canada, in your province, or wherever you live in the world, they can kind of help you start looking for more resources other than just the helplines.
Okay. What do you have a friend or a family member that is in some type of hurt or pain, but they don't realize it themselves, but you as the observer notices it? How would you approach them to start the healing process? What can you do?
I say, you know what, be around, and when they start speaking, normally people start speaking and they don't start with their problem, right? They start somewhere a lot, I'll say, smaller. Listen. Instead of giving them advice, instead of passing any kind of judgment, just show them that you can be someone who can just listen and say, wow, that sucks, or, ooh, that's hard, or, oh, what are you going to do about that? Because that's what people are looking for. If they're going to open up to you, they want to know that you're not going to be one of the people to judge them or to sit there and give them advice or sit there and tell them you know exactly what they're going through, because you don't. So don't do any of those things. Just listen.
Man, I think I drove everybody else off. You start flowing. I just had a lot of questions.
Oh. Good job, Charles. No, I'm kidding.
That wasn't my brothers. And men and women, you're all welcome. I just got the singularity, so I get sucked into the point of excellent, the point of excellence, the paradigm of deep thought, classic Ruby. But anyway, so how can somebody, what tools would you give somebody to analyze themselves to figure out if they are really having pain but they're not dealing with it? What would you say to somebody? What questions could you ask the person?
I think it depends. If it's a matter of in relationships, for example, you can tell, are you snapping on people? Are you reacting really angrily all the time? Do you think that you're irritable and moody all the time? Are you feeling frustrated at things that you used to feel frustrated at all the time? Or, you're just not in the mood for people or things you used to really like doing before? Are you trying to isolate yourself a lot more than you used to? Think back to who you were 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Do you see a trend in your behavior, or, did you change suddenly one day? You can kind of just take a look at some of those things and see, like, did something change? Have you stayed relatively the same? Have you always just been a bitchy and moody person? Did that start when you were 10 years old? And hey, did something really bad happen to you when you were 10? Like you can start asking yourself questions and kind of trace back answers. But honestly, the best thing is if you're in some kind of pain, you probably know you're in some kind of pain. Like, denial doesn't mean that you're oblivious. It just means that you don't want to admit it, but something's off, something's wrong. It's just about, are you actually ready to get help for it or not?
That just, in my mind, that for me, I think that's a difficult task for a lot of people, especially for men, because most men never want to seem weak, and to search for help or to go for help usually makes a man feel less than a man, and that's a perplexing dilemma. You need help, but then if you go for help, then you're not a man. So I can, even from my own assessment of people, whenever I hear somebody saying he went to rehab, I'm like, that weak ass dude. I'm joking, but that's what you be. That's, as a man, you make those. I could have took care of it myself. I can handle my own problems. So that's something that we as men find difficult, and I don't think men really know how to reach out. And just listening to you talk, you're going to give some man some help. And what all I can ever say is, to anyone, I'm always open to talk, because talking to somebody and listening to somebody, for me, is therapeutic and cathartic. I can learn and help you, and you help me by being able to help you. So help me help you by helping me help you.
Mm-hmm. So another thing is, since we're on YouTube, is people can Google, do a YouTube search on whatever it is that you're looking for. There's a lot of people who will sit there and tell their own stories. And, if a channel specifically speaks a lot about, say their experience with divorce and child support and, whatever, there's probably going to be 1 or 2 videos with how they dealt with some of that, those negative thoughts and those negative feelings that came around with it. Or, there are actually YouTubers who do speak out about, being molested when they were children, or, talking about the fact that, being abused as a child, if you're a boy, is not a laughing matter, et cetera, et cetera. So, sometimes maybe just doing a YouTube search or a Google search and trying to find information that way and seeing what other people did and what other people are offering as advice is also a way to go, especially for men if, you know, maybe their first stop won't be to necessarily pick up a phone or look for a phone number, but they're on YouTube now, so maybe look for a YouTube video.
Give me your thoughts on this one. How come so many men try to help other men by teaching them to hate? That's something that's always blew my mind. I don't understand how hating helps. I understand projection. I do. I understand that blaming somebody else may make you feel like you're not the cause. But when you teach hate, I don't see that as being productive. So I would love to know your analysis on why you think people do that.
I'm going to assume that those men started on the entirely opposite side of things. So they were men who were like, so if we're talking about teaching men who teach other men to hate all women, they probably started on the whole other side of things where they were so wrapped up and enamored in pussy whipped by some chick. You know, she stole his wife, stole his car, stole his job, stole his everything, you know, whatever, and then ran away with his brother or something. And then all he did was pine for her and wrote her emails saying, well, we could still fix it, baby, and all kinds of stuff, right? Like, I'm sure that they came from that side of things, and they couldn't get over the love, and they couldn't get over the pining and the desire and the, you know, all of that stuff. And so their remedy for that was to turn love into hate and to use her as a representational figure. So that way, when he approaches any new women, you're going to look at every new woman like she's that old woman, because every new woman has the potential to be her, because you didn't see her for what she was at the beginning either. You know, instead of teaching, you know, him signs and symptoms of, you know, how she could be one of those chicks, you know, signs and symptoms of, you know, user behavior, or signs and symptoms of when she's playing you, or whatever the case is, they just go the whole other way, because they still don't know. They still haven't figured out the difference between her and a good woman. They don't even know that there are good women at all. They don't believe in them. They literally don't believe in the myth of the unicorn. So hate all women. It's easier.
That's one thing I can't get down with. Like, I understand hurt and pain. I even understand anger. But when you project your anger on everybody, that's like saying we're all unique. There's always going to be that one. If we even use quantum, which I love to do because I'm a geek, there's still that 0.0001% that it can happen. There's a great one. So if there's a chance, there is. There is a chance, there is. And all you need is a chance. So that always confuses me for people to say, oh, women are bad, they're all evil, or all men are bad. That's just so absolute in science. If you believe in science, even if you believe in a religious deity, it still says people have a chance to change, and all you need is a chance. There's always that aberration. There's always that anomaly. There's always that singularity, and there's always that unicorn. That's why we got Classic Ruby here. So it perplexes me. So how do you abate that? What could I, as a man, from your perspective, do to stop the men who have so much hurt and anger at women to get past that, or anger at the society in itself? How do we get them to move past that? I mean, this is circular, but you do understand what I'm saying, because I would love to have a dialogue with a man, or see a man who really did not like women talk to a woman and say, you know what, I like you because you're a good person. But I don't really hear that. What's your thought?
Well, because the thing is that they don't believe that any woman is a good woman. And I mean, honestly, I also believe oftentimes that women who hate all men because this one guy was terrible, this applies to them as well. But I think that most of these men don't have a lot of experience. They might have, you know, experience with 2 or 3 serious women. That's about it. And then other than that, you know, and unfortunately, they were a target because they never changed anything from relationship 1 to relationship 2 to relationship 3. So they stayed the same target the whole time. And, you know, if you are prey, predators are going to find you. And if you haven't learned what is too good to be true, then you're not going to see it until it's too late. So I think the thing is that a lot of those men are not going to change their opinions until they have exposure to more than 1 or 2 good women that they speak to. And They're not going to be able to say, hey, you know what? I've spoken to you a few times online. You seem all right. You must be all right, because he dated her for 2 years before she turned into that bitch or whatever, right? They're going to need a lot of experience, just like the men who don't turn into hate because of one bad experience. It's because they've dated 100 girls, slept with a whole bunch of different girls, and dated a whole bunch of girls seriously before they got to that one evil bitch. So by the time they get to the one evil bitch, they're like, she's an evil bitch. People like her are probably evil bitches, but not all women are like her.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. I think that we all are creatures. We are all are animals. We all breathe. We all need to reproduce. We all have certain similarities, but there's always uniqueness in each of us. For me to put any group of people or any individual into all would be ludicrous, because I mean, it is what it is, and I can accept what it is, but it doesn't mean that what is does not have uniqueness to it. And I'd love to say that. So there'll never be another classic Ruby. Now there'll be a woman that looks like Ruby. She's probably Jamaican and lives in Canada, but she will never be you. And I can't say she's classic Ruby. No, she's not. She's somebody who's totally different. You know, has some type of similarities, and that's what the brothers need to start thinking about. And I think this is my advice. That's how you deal with emotional pain, and that's how you get your emotional needs met, when you can understand that every situation is unique. And even though you are special, you are not alone, because somebody else is dealing with a situation similar to yours, maybe different, but in the same way. So if you think like that, then you can connect with people. And once you can connect with people, you can empathize. And once you empathize, you get understanding. And that's what I try to do. You know, I'm like, everybody knows I'm like the worst empathizer, but I empathize with you because I never want to see you hurt or in pain. And that's just my thoughts. So
makes sense.
Yeah. Ruby, if you could give any advice to anybody, be it man or woman, to make them feel great, what advice would you give them?
To make them feel great?
Yeah, I mean, you can't make anybody feel anything, but like, you know what I would tell you, other than you're fantastic, awesome, wonderful, beautiful, and intelligent. I would tell you that I would tell you that you're loved. And every time I hear you talk, I always smile. That's what I would say. And I would say to everybody is, you are always welcome. Even if I'm being a phallus, even if I'm being an ass, but I still will stop being this not good person to hear what you got to say. If you say, listen to me, just listen. And that's what I would tell anyone, because I always want to hear what you got to say. So Ruby, after I said my stuff, what would you say?
Well, see, now here's the thing. My approach is different. I don't think there's one thing that you could tell everybody that's going to make everyone feel great. And the reason why is because you're telling everybody something based on your truth. Your truth is that you love to hear what everyone has to say. It's probably, I'm going to guess, also true to some extent that you like when people appreciate what you have to say.
So true.
Right?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
as a result, what you're doing is you're giving other people something from, you're basically projecting you onto them and then giving them that. Now, for someone like me who likes to share my thoughts and opinions and, you know, what I know and have learned and whatever, that works for me. But there are other people who get validation from other things.
Yes.
Maybe the only things that they would want to hear, for example, is how beautiful, you know, their hair looks today. You know, for a dude, there might be a guy who, you know, is really insecure about the sound of his voice, and he would want to hear, you know, that his voice, you know, from some chick, he wants to hear that his voice is really sexy or something, right? Like, there are things that are each person is going to kind of either be insecure about or be really proud of. And either way, that's what is going to make them feel really great. Pay attention to someone probably for, I'll say about 20 minutes max. And you could probably pick something out about them that they might want to hear from you.
Understood. Okay. Brother Benzo, I see you popped on, and you can answer this too, Classic Ruby, after I ask Benzo. How do you defeat insecurity?
Positive thoughts, affirmations, execution. Do it. Don't let the insecurity cause fear. Fear is only false evidence appearing real. What's there to be insecure about, especially someone like me?
Yeah, you can't be insecure when you're perfect, brother. That's a joke.
Not saying that I'm perfect. Not that I'm perfect, but I've got a personality.
Yeah, I hear that.
I'm funny. I'm clever. I'm witty. I'm smarter than most people.
And you're humble too.
Right?
Absolutely. Along with
Very
being
humble.
modest. Along with being modest. Yeah. But yeah, insecurities. Nah. I mean, even if you are insecure, that's about something. You prepare yourself. You give it your best shot. Either you're going to fail, you succeed. A lot of times, you're going to succeed when you didn't think that you would, just by giving it a shot. What did Woody Allen say? He said he found out that 50% of success is just showing up.
Yeah,
being there.
That's real. Your thoughts, Ruby?
Well, I guess for me, a lot of beating my insecurities has to do at least with going out and just doing it anyway, and finding out that it's not so bad. So, I mean, I have terrible, crippling social anxiety. I still do. Like, if I go to a party, for example, where I don't know anyone, if no one speaks to me, I will speak to no one the whole night. Like, literally, I'll sit there by myself, not speaking to anyone the whole night. And I'll only speak to people who have spoken to me first. It's still a problem I have. I still haven't conquered it. I just can't get past it.
If you're going to a party where people are supposed to be festive and having a good time, and no one's speaking you to your first, you might be doing the right thing, because these aren't friendly people. I can't imagine going to any type of function where people were socializing and maybe drinking, and friends or friends of friends, where people are that stuck up and unfriendly. I wouldn't speak to them either. Shame on them.
Well, unfortunately, I live somewhere where very often I am like one of maybe 5 Black people in the whole entire place. So that often works to my disadvantage, because I don't know, all the white people assume that I must know the other 4 Black people. And the other 4 Black people know they don't know me. So they're not sure what white friends I have here. So one way or the other, I end up spending a lot of time by myself. But no, I'm not saying that eventually no one talks to me. I'm just saying that until someone speaks to me, I'm not speaking to anyone. And the only person I speak to, or the only people I speak to, are the people who come up and speak to me. I will never go up to other people and speak to them. And it's that's about a bunch of major insecurities of my own.
Man, the fact that you even left your house and got dressed up and presented yourself in front of a bunch of strangers shows that you're not that insecure. I don't think that's that big of a deal. That's just being a little snobbish in a snobbish atmosphere.
Nope, absolutely not. Because as soon as you come, all you really have to do is say like hi, or like whatever your opening like few words are. That's enough for me. But my insecurity comes into the fact that I'm very socially awkward. So I don't know how to enter other people's conversations. I don't know how to gracefully come in and be like, hey, and just stand there and be like, hey, so I'm Ruby, nice to meet you. Or do you just interject and start just talking? And when is it not awkward for you to do that? Like, I don't know how to do that. And so because I don't know how to do that and I don't know anyone, I'll just sit there and wait for someone to talk to me.
And
what's so funny about that? That might be the only thing that I know how to do well and better than anybody else, is interject myself in a conversation.
I'm great at it. That's
it's kind of like double Dutch.
I'm great. Faith Squad, she said that's just rude, period. But I'm a person that I can talk to anyone. I have no social anxiety at all. I want to talk to everybody. So if I try to, I'm like him. I double Dutch it. I'll be waiting for that second to ask the question. Can I get in the conversation? Hey, excuse me. You mind if I continue? Can I talk? Would you guys like to talk with me? Can I get away from us?
Doesn't always work.
I'll be like, okay, I'll be standing over there if you guys want to talk. Hey, I'm Charles. Nice to meet you all.
Sometimes you'll get ignored. Sometimes people let you know that you're not welcome in their conversation. But a lot of times, if you got something, you know, worthwhile to say or funny to say, people are happy to hear. Some people might even share a little bit more than you care for them to share.
Oh no, that happens to me all the time. Of the people who come and talk to me all the time. I like end up hearing people's entire life stories and helping counseling them on what to do with blah blah blah, like all the time. But I'm just like, as far as me, no. Me interjecting, like I don't know how, right? But I was also terrified. Like I had no idea like how people spoke in chat rooms, like on YouTube. When I finally found live streams and stuff, I was like, oh my God, like I guess all these people know each other, right? So like if I speak on it, they're gonna be like, who the hell are you and why are you speaking here? Like I didn't know to understand the rules.
Now that might be a bit of a problem. That might be a little bit of neurosis there, but you can get over
clearly
that.
The whole thing is neuroses. That's the point. It's insecurity. So what I did instead was one day I said, okay, well, I'm here, so I'm just going to say something. I'm not going to go, hello, all, because then if no one responds to me, then I'm going to feel so rejected. I'm not going to speak anymore. So I'm just going to wait until I have something to say about whatever they're talking about on this live stream, and I'll just say that and just see what happens, right? And like nothing, the world didn't explode, right? Like everything was fine. No one sat there and said, get out. Who's this classic Ruby chick? Like no one cared, right? They didn't respond either, but I didn't care. No one told me to get out, so it was good, right? So I tried again. Right? And this is how I got onto the YouTube social scene. So, you know, it's like, how do you work on your insecurities? Just do it. Just do it. And when you find out the world doesn't explode anyway, you'll have a little bit more confidence to do it again. And hey, you know what? The other thing I clearly have an issue with is that whole dealing with rejection thing. I got to work on that too. But that's the thing. The more you get rejected, the more you realize getting rejected isn't the end of the world, and you'll be willing to do it again.
If you didn't know, I'm like oblivious. I'm telling you, you can say, Charles, I hate you. I'm like, that's nice. Hey, what's your name? Get away from me. Oh, okay. I understand that. 5 minutes later, hey, excuse me. Did I just tell you? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I'll tell you. I'm not that silly, but I really don't let things get to me. I really don't care if people reject me because life will go on as long as I don't disrespect you and I don't hit you. It should be good. You know, tell me you want me to leave you alone. I promise you I will, but tomorrow's another day, so I'm gonna still be nice to you. Hey, you want to share some of my ice cream sandwich? No, I'm joking.
No,
I know it's okay. He said no.
That reminds me of a little short joke. Want to hear it?
Go for it. Say whatever you got.
Okay.
Okay. See, there's this duck, right? And the duck goes into the hardware store and he says, "Excuse me, do you happen to have any grapes?" He said, "No, it's a hardware store, you know. Hammers, nails, ladders, no grapes, thank you." So the next day the duck comes back and he says, "Excuse me, sir, you happen to have any grapes?" He said, "No, I thought I told you yesterday. It's a hardware store, you know, it's not grapes. Go to the supermarket, you know." Next day the duck comes back and says, "Pardon me, sir, would you happen to have any grapes?" He said, "Look, duck, you know, I don't know how to communicate this to you, but you're starting to get on my nerves. In fact, you're getting on my nerves so much asking me about these damn grapes. If you come back here again asking me for some grapes, I'm going to nail your feet to the floor." You know the kind of feet ducks have. Those webbed feet. They don't have toes. They're all stuck together. If you nail them, you ain't going nowhere. So guess what happens? The next day, the duck walked into the hardware store. He said, "Excuse me, sir, do you have any nails?" He said, "Damn it, we just sold the last thing of nails. I got some coming back ordered in." Then the duck says, "Okay, you don't have any nails?" He said, "No, we're fresh out of nails." He said, do you happen to have any grapes?"
It was funny to me. It was funny.
Not dirty.
Yeah. The movie was like, no. Anyway, yeah. Like, okay.
Yeah. But on that note, and it's probably too late now because she said that she was leaving. But while you were telling the joke, I decided to check out the chat room. So I just wanted to address something. And so for the record, mostly when I go to house parties, which actually isn't all that often. So I'm going to a party or whatever at someone's house. It's normally that person who invited me, because otherwise, why am I there? So in the case of that's the person who invited me, obviously I greet the person who invited me because I know that person and they invited me to their party. But in many cases where that's the only person I know, nope, I don't know anybody. And if you think that's rude, I totally understand that. I'm not a rude person at all. And like I said, anyone at all speaks to me, I'm down to speak. Anyone addresses me to do something for the party, I'm down to do that too. As far as me and my crippling social anxiety, if you would take that as rudeness, I guess you would. Honestly, no one really takes me as being a rude person. I never get that response from anyone who knows me, or even the people who notice me at parties and come up to speak to me. They more so say that I look lonely, because I probably am looking around longingly while I hope to God someone just comes and speaks to me, or the host has 5 minutes to speak to me, because I'm not going to monopolize the only person who I know here who's the host, in the hopes that at least I won't have to be standing here like a loser trying to look like I'm not trying to look busy, hoping someone will come and talk to me. So yeah,
you sure put a lot of thought into this shit, huh?
No, you don't, because that's, the thing is, when you have social anxiety, if you have a social anxiety disorder, it's like it's not, when you actually have a social anxiety disorder. So this is not like I'm a little shy. I'm not a shy person at all, right? This is literally, it's actually a thing. You certainly
got a lot to say, but go ahead. I'm getting where you're coming from now. Before, it didn't seem like you had that problem, but the more that you speak on it, this is the more that you thought and possibly obsessed on it and broken down each component. Yeah, I get it now.
Yes.
You're bugged out. You bugged out.
It makes me really upset. Like the whole time I'm on the way to the party, I think to myself, why did I agree to go to this? Why did I agree to go to this? But I go because I love the person, right? But I don't want to be there. Like, I want to be anywhere but at this stupid party. And I hate going places with my husband, because my husband's a social butterfly and I have like back issues and whatever, right? So my husband will sit me down and be like, I'll be right back. And I won't see him for 3 hours, right? Like, so that's it. Like, now I'm at the stupid party he brought me to by myself. I don't know anyone at all now. The host doesn't even know me well enough to come back and talk to me. And where's my husband?
To be honest, he just probably needed a break from all that shit that was coming out your mouth about how worried you were they don't come up, and they do come up. And if no one speaks to me, I'm not speaking to them.
Okay.
Oh, you're holding it in? That was just impossible. So I know if you were telling me that, like for the 20-minute ride to the place, and as we're walking up to the door and kept doing it, we're in there, I'd say, excuse me, I'm going to get a drink. I'll be right back. And I'd have probably ditched you out too. And knowing, I mean, you were married and all that. We'll get back. It's not a...
No.
Well, that's a question, Ruby. I got a question for you. Do women know when they're getting on men's nerves? And if they do know, do they care? Because I know men.
Yes and no.
Men are usually oblivious when we get on women's nerves. I'm telling you, we don't know.
Yes and no. Yes, they know, and no, they don't care. There you go. Honest answer.
I accept that.
Okay. Honestly, sometimes we don't know. Legitimately, sometimes we don't know, because men are also like kind of trained, like socially, they know there are certain things that they're supposed to take from their significant others. They're like, certain conversations they have to tolerate, like, her bitching about her friend or talking about her day or whatever. But today's just not the day. He just doesn't care. It's getting on his nerves, whatever. In those cases, no, she doesn't know. She might be able to, tell something's off, but she doesn't know she's getting on your nerves. And she doesn't understand why. And that's the other thing too, is a lot of times, when they do know they're getting on your nerves, in those cases, like, a lot of times we don't know why we're getting on your nerves. We can just tell we're getting on your nerves, and we're just annoyed that we're getting on your nerves.
Most successful marriages that last 20 years or more, the man totally sacrifices that entire anything you say bothers me into everything you say is the most important thing in the world, and I'm going to be totally, completely attentive. And those are the marriages that last. You guys wear on us after a while. And in order to make it work, you have to kind of just, man, my grandfather was a tough guy, man. She had him beaten down to a pulp by the time he was 50 something. It's sad. I mean, he was a tough dude, like in the streets, Harlem, New York, man. The grinding that my grandmother did on a consistent basis, man. He just wasn't the same person, man.
That's something you see in all TV shows. The man is tough
Right.
until he gets home to his wife. You watch Dragon Ball Z, Goku's the strongest dude in the universe, but let his wife come. Boy, Goku turned to a wimp. He's running from her.
And that's what's considered a successful marriage and longevity. Well, you know, my parents been married 38 years. Yeah, your father doesn't. Your father has a very low T count.
Well, okay.
He couldn't. What do I tell one of my cousins? I said you couldn't get your balls from her if you wanted them.
Okay, Ruby, this is the question, and this is in media. I got to think about it more. It's conjecture because I haven't really observed it, but now I'm gonna pay attention. How come in media it always seems like the woman is the stronger one in the relationship? I'm not saying I haven't seen co-relationships, but it always seems like when it comes to the family structure, the woman is the authoritarian, or the woman is as far as she makes the policy and the man enforces the policy.
Hey man, they're ambitious in that way. I'm sorry, she asked her.
Yeah,
they're just takeover artists. That's all.
On.
They just
stop. Brother Bill, I want to hear what Ruby got to say. Then let her say.
Ignis Khan, Attila the Hun.
Go ahead,
Ruby. Stop.
What's your thoughts?
Relentless.
This dude is silly.
Overbearing.
Okay.
Come on, brother.
I'll be back in 5 minutes when he runs out of adjectives. Okay. No, seriously. I think what it is, and people need to understand that, like, yeah, okay, on the surface, it's like, okay, she's the authoritarian and, you know, he just has to enforce her rules and whatever. But you know what? If a marriage is successful, oftentimes it's based on teamwork. And, you know, as great as it would be if, you know, human beings followed these perfect, you know, standards of what a woman is and what a woman's role should be and what a man is and what a man's role should be. Oftentimes they don't. But what you want to find is someone who complements you in your teamwork. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And find someone who complements you and has, you know, the opposite strengths and weaknesses. And so, you know, what we find is a lot of Black women, especially, you know, they speak a lot, and, you know, they're a little bit louder, they're a little bit more, say, forceful. You know, now that isn't to say that you don't find the opposite. I'm just saying, you know, in these TV shows, right? But now, if this marriage has really been successful for 35, 40 years and he's actually happy, when she's laying down the law and he's enforcing it, he gets to be the good guy and whatever, but she's not making rules or laying down laws or whatever that he disagrees with. And she's not making up rules and laying down laws and whatever that they probably hadn't at some point already discussed, sussed out. It was already kind of part of their overall plans or overall style of parenting that they laid out a long time ago. Okay. So, you know, and that's what you see the opposite being true in the cases of, you know, the marriages where you see the fathers being the ones who are clearly the ones who are speaking and laying down the laws and this and that and whatever. But you know what, in the bedroom at night, their wives and them are talking about it. And you know what, she's letting him know what she wants and what she needs and what she needs to see with these kids. And he's not going to go against her, and he's not going to go against her wishes and her desires for their children. And so even though he's the one who ends up laying down those laws and she just has to enforce them, it was basically a combination effort.
Well, I understand that. I was just speaking about in the media, I got to watch more because I said conjecture. I just said it seems like it's more of the woman being the authoritarian and then the father just comes and enforces it. But I got to go back in and watch more shows before, because I don't watch much, but the shows I do think about, it's always been kind of like that. You know, the mother tells something, then I'm going to get the dad. You know what I mean? Or, you know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You know, these sitcoms don't show, first of all, they're sitcoms. So they're only going to show you the funny stuff. And we're going to laugh at the stuff that we all relate to. We all relate to the stuff that happens in every Black household across America, right?
Yes.
So they're not telling you about the functions of, well, how did it get to the place that that's how it's functioning on the surface? And we all saw that happening. And yet, hey, this marriage lasted 30 years. They're not telling you about that function, what's happening between their closed doors every single night, what happened long before this show ever aired, as far as, you know, in the kids' lives. You know what I mean? Like, they're not telling you all that stuff.
I hear you. So, go ahead, Brother Benzo. I want to hear what you got to say so I can start laughing again. Is he gone? I guess he is. I don't hear him. Anyway, since Brother Benzo, I'm giving you a couple of seconds to speak, and you're not speaking. So since he's not speaking, Ruby, you know what? We've been going for, I think, 2 hours now with interruptions. I think it's time for me to wrap it up, unless you got more to say.
I'm good.
Okay, well, Brother Benzo, you got anything to say?
Anything to say at all?
I always appreciate you joining. For everybody who tuned in, I just think Nisha, much love to you. You know, you're awesome. I love for anyone that comes by, feel free to jump in. If more people jump in, I'll always keep it going. But I am getting thirsty. It's time for me to go consume some beverages, and just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Feel free to tune in anytime. This is not my page, it's your page, and I love you all. Appreciate it. Ruby, you are the singularity. Everybody knows who you are, so I'm not gonna shout you out. Go check out Classic Ruby. Let's keep bombarding her to make more videos.
One of these days, they're coming. They're coming.
Okay. All right. My brother JT who joined in, A View is a View, Nikki, Neon Eyes, Simply Deep, whoever else I don't name. Appreciate you all. I love you
Faith
more.
Squad.
Faith Squad. I was gonna say that was the last one. Faith Squad. She should have joined, but next time,
Right?
you know, like tomorrow I'll do something at 9. Hopefully you'll join. All right. I hope everybody's doing great, and I'm about to end this now. I love you all. Have a great day, and I appreciate it.
All right.